allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to review our collective commitments. This month we're focusing on team focus. The statement reads, "We will work together as a professional learning community to meet the academic and individual needs of all students and pledge to value individual differences and acknowledge that everyone has the responsibility to support each student in reaching their highest potential. Speak with one voice following open discussion, recognizing that healthy debate and diverse perspectives lead to better decisions for student growth. Commit to a strategic planning process driven by the district mission and developed by a collaborative leadership team focusing on results. Strive to work with each other with the highest levels of trust and integrity to protect the district's long-term success. Ensure all major decisions reflect consistency with district goals and a commitment to sustainable achievement." Now our mission vision statement. Hot Springs County School District will inspire students, staff, and community to be the top performing school district in the state of Wyoming. We believe in learning as our fundamental purpose, collaborating for continuous improvement, focusing on results, partnering with parents and community, preparing all students for their future. Acceptance of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, agenda approved. We're moving on to delegations and individuals. We're at the superintendent's report. Dr. Foose.
All right. We had our administrative team attend the PLC conference as well, along with numerous certified teachers, and it was in Denver this year. And I'll give the others a chance to speak if they choose to do so. They don't have to. For me personally, I felt like the conference was excellent. It was good to go to the conference this year with a focus on look-fors from my first year in the district. One of the look-fors obviously was the guiding coalition. And we've had a district guiding coalition here in our system. There is another configuration, building level guiding coalitions. That was one area where I felt like I learned a lot of information on. Another area, Mike Matos, his keynote speech talking about all students and the processes and working together collaboratively. I just thought that the conference was particularly meaningful and excellent for me personally. One other last little bit about the conference is the team we went with, and I'll say his name, I won't mention the rest of the team, but someone like Jacob Stringer, who's been in the district 14, 15 years now, and he began his career here and he's been in the system for a nice amount of time, and he's been with the PLC process the whole time. And he's been in the initial stages where he feels like the district was just really humming along and really functioning at a high level with the PLC framework. And he's just, in a way, seen it all and grew up in the system. And it was really insightful to get to visit with him in depth, among others. I mean, Teacher of the Year, Laura Stam, but hearing their perspectives and where they are, and then going with second-year folks in the system, also with initial contract teachers in our district that went to the Institute as well, listening to their perspectives and learning and growing, and everybody coming together and talking about the way forward, sustainability within our district. I felt like the conversations were were meaningful. I felt like they had depth. I felt like folks on the trip had the courage to say, some things aren't going particularly well in this area, whether that be collaboration and other things, and taking a introspective look at how they themselves can improve them things instead of pointing fingers at others. And so those are some of my takeaways. I really did appreciate the trip, and I'll leave it at that. And if anybody else attended want to add to that, feel free, go ahead.
That's great.
I usually only go if we have a new administrator, and so this is the second time that I've gone, kind of my first year, and then this year with Mary being the new administrator, and really the time that you get to spend with that team is super valuable for building those relationships, and I got so much out of this PLC conference, especially compared to when I was brand new out of the gate 6 months in. It was really enjoyable, and I could make a lot more connections because it's obviously very educator focused, very classroom focused, but there was a lot for me to take away in my position as well, district wide. So I did get a lot out of it this time. I appreciated going with these guys and getting to spend that time.
Yeah, I'm always appreciative of that time and the willingness of this district to encourage that and help us grow and continue growing. And so I really enjoyed it, and to be able to go with the team there, I thought was important, and to have those conversations and learn and grow together was really, really good. So I appreciate that.
I appreciated being able to do it as a first-time principal here in this district, to kind of understand the goals and the situation of where we're headed and not feel so behind in what the processes are here. I was able to catch up pretty quickly, so it was a great opportunity.
I had to open up my notebook because I took a lot of notes, and I always go back and I learn something new every time, right? I mean, it doesn't matter how many times I've been there, you always go to a different presenter, the keynotes are different, and I always take away something more, something new, something different. I think one of the biggest things where we're at right now is the framework isn't new to us, to most of us, because we have a relatively veteran staff who's been part of that framework. But now for us, it's how do we continue growing within that framework? And so that was on my mind. So one of the things that one of the speakers talked about was tall poppy syndrome. And so we talked about that a little bit in admin meeting. As we kind of plan for professional development this year, tall poppy syndrome, they explained it as providing professional development that's just tailored to everyone at the same height, the tall poppies. And being able to tailor that to what they need. And so that's something that we've talked a lot about, as an admin team, what we're going to do and how to work through that this year. It's something that still is a discussion for us, but I think as we continue to roll out what that looks like for us and within Guiding Coalition will be really exciting because our staff all need to grow, no matter if they're here for 1 year or 20 years. I need to grow as a leader no matter if I'm new or veteran, and so it's just exciting.
So I'm curious, when we've gone in the past, us board members have gone, several of us, there's usually not very many board members there because it is very much tailored to the educators. Were there any board members that, did they speak of them? Because they always,
Sometimes they ask.
they ask, and
Yeah.
we would stand up and be like, the
Two
only
of
ones
us.
standing.
I don't recall that question being asked. I do recall in one workshop a board member, and so out of thousands of participants, I don't know how many board members were there, but there was a board member in one of the workshops that I went to, and it was interesting to see their take, and I think it's always enlightening for board members and others who aren't necessarily in the education profession to see the technicality and the science behind the hard work that the practitioners are doing every day. And I always think that's a really good thing too, to see that there's just so much thought and things going on with the educating of students.
Is there a way that we can, so we've been doing the PLC conference a couple of times a year for many, many years. Do you have any idea how many of our certified teachers have not attended? Do we have numbers on that?
I don't, and I don't even want to guess. I think based on the makeup of the group that just went recently, the 13 of us, there was a handful that it was their first time, and there was a handful that had went multiple times.
Yeah.
And I think it was excellent for all members because
Yeah.
folks who had been there numerous times felt a sense of renewal, you know, a freshness and some excitement moving forward, and some of the reminders and the things and the relearning that took place made them think to themselves, okay, this is how I can better contribute to collaboration and contribute to some of the things that we need to be doing. And the new folks as well, some of the folks in year 2 or 3 had made the comment, okay, we spent all year collaborating, working with our building level principals, but this is a really nice tie together. And so I felt like the whole group really had some positive things to say.
It's awesome. It makes so much better sense after you go to a conference, after talking about it so often, and then it wraps it up in this bubble where you can leave and go, oh, I understand why we're doing this, you know. So I think it's just such a powerful time for our staff to be doing.
And I particularly like they built in time, and if you see someone like Mike Matos and you say, hey, you got a few minutes to spend with me, and they're so willing to do so. I mean, he is a big name for Solution Tree and been around the block a lot as a principal, a district leader, teacher, and now someone who presents at the PLC conferences. And for him to say, no problem, let's sit down and visit. And I really like that part too, is that those folks and those trainers are willing to sit with you, visit with you, listen to your current reality on the journey, because everybody is in very different places. And we know that our district's been at this for quite a while, and sustainability is a tough thing to tackle. It really is. And sustainability involves those senses of renewals and the small tweaks and adjustments about how we go about our business, whether it's collaboration. One that I want to touch base tonight is moving from a district level guiding coalition that is functioning more as a leadership team, which is okay, appropriate and needed, but moving to a building level guided coalition where each building, and as Nicole says, everybody's at different areas with their learning and needs, especially at the buildings. And the idea of going to a building level coalition where teams of teachers led by the admin team can work together and set some goals and some directions within the framework that is specific to the needs of each building. And that's what the changes on the stipend schedule are going to reflect, is moving in that direction. And I think that's a key component to sustainability and a sense of renewal, and really tailoring, as Nicole said as well, some of the needs in our district that are frankly different at each building.
I love that. Thank you. And then you were going to talk about board workshop date.
Yeah, the board workshop, I appreciate the board that this is going to be locked in after the admin workshop, the very first week after school, corresponding moving forward. We're in this conundrum this summer where we're vetting dates, and it's pretty tough, and summer's half over. The admin team met, and we talked about putting on the table as an idea with the trustees that the admin team can share their specific department or building level data in a three and a half hour session during our curriculum week, which happens August 3rd through the 6th. And so what we, the admin team, want to propose to the board is maybe picking one of those evenings where we can spend three and a half hours, and the admin team can share out their data and the specific departments as well, special ed, finance, those folks. And so that's what we have on the table tonight. It doesn't solve part 2, where the board has the workshop with the superintendent on goal setting. But I think part 1 here, we can get that taken care of, and then part 2, I think we can generate some flexibility and ideas where the board can work with the superintendent on his goals moving forward. So the 3rd through the 6th
Okay.
in the evening, one of those days.
The
Well-
evening of the 6th won't work for me.
What about, I'm gonna throw this out, if we could do one of those evenings where we get the data, it's really nice to then do another meeting where we set district goals.
Yes.
Um,
I am open. Oh, go ahead.
if we could, I'm gonna just throw this out there, brainstorming, so say we pick the 3rd, have the 3-hour session, and then on the 4th, that evening, maybe meet for another hour, to set goals.
I like that with the superintendent, yes.
Yeah,
Maybe even just a day in between where they're not running so busy at the very beginning, you know, give him a little bit of a break. So could we do like Monday, Wednesday?
Wednesday would work better for me.
yeah, oh, yeah, so we could do that, that's,
That gives us a day in
like I
between
said, I
where
was
we're
just
not
throwing
2
it
days
out
in a
as
row.
an idea, so,
Love it.
yeah? You wanna do August 3rd? At what time? Did you say like 5:30, 6 o'clock?
Yeah, I think 5 would be plenty late for the admin team to collect their thoughts a little bit from the curriculum week, working with their staff, and give them a little bit of time and be here ready to go at 5 o'clock and get out when that part's over. And then a couple days later, we'll come back together at a workshop with the superintendent and do our goal setting. I like it.
What about board members getting off of work?
I can make it work.
Can ya? You wanna show?
Yep.
Yep. Jean? Yep. Okay, so the 3rd at 5?
And the 5th, you want to do 6:30 like our normal meetings, so we don't have to worry about dinner?
Yeah. Are you guys good with that?
Do
The-
what now?
The 5th, meet again on the 5th for just an hour, maybe at like 6:30.
Can I suggest it might be an hour and a half or?
Yeah, it probably
Because
will
we
be.
probably should schedule that much, and if we don't
Okay.
use it all,
Yeah,
I
okay.
just know how.
So
Some
from
of us
6:30 to
start
8, and we'll just work really hard to be done by 8. I think
Okay.
that's a good goal to set,
Yeah.
Sounds good.
so that we stay on task. Okay.
Brittany, if you need help with figuring out dinner on the 5th, call me. and
Okay,
I can help
I
you
will.
with that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay,
Or I mean on the 3rd.
on the 3rd.
Third, no dinner on the 5th.
So
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right now, I'm feeling like that's a pretty decent little win.
Hey, we all agree on 2 days.
Yeah. Yes. Amazing.
Do we have to vote on them now? Or can we just call it good?
Good.
We can call it good.
Awesome. Thank you, Brittany, for publishing that. 3rd and the 5th, I got it written down. Okay. Next on the agenda is board member and committee reports. I don't imagine there'll be too many reports because we've just had a meeting, but, I know for rec board, our meeting is on Monday, so. Northwest BOCES.
I didn't make the meeting. I was dropping my son off,
Oh.
ruining my life,
That's a good excuse.
Yeah.
tearing my heart out.
Early childhood BOCES, we haven't had a meeting. Sherman is not here for CWC. DGC does not meet in the summertime. The finance committee. Have you guys met?
Yeah, so Madam Chair, we met actually just today, and I'm probably not gonna get into a lot because the majority of what we went through was the budget, to be approved tonight, that Jess will go through in detail with us. Just trying to remember if there's anything sort of outside of that that's noteworthy. But really, that's what we focused on, and, just, I guess I will pre-applaud Jess for putting this all together that she'll present tonight. It's a lot, there's a lot of changes, with the legislation that came out this year, and, she'll walk us through any pertinent details, so.
Yeah, I read through some of that presentation. I got about halfway through and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just let her explain it.
One of the things I want to do that I did mention to Jessica, but just a shout out to our district. we've seen a significant decrease in our expense for substitutes, 144,000. That's a huge savings.
Down?
A decrease in legal expense by almost 25,000. A decrease in our supplies at 38,000. SPED is down 46,000. Our high school activities, they really have been trying to watch their expenses. They're down 80,000. So we're seeing a group effort on the whole district wide of people actually being conscious of their spending. And so I just want to give a shout out to the district. I know Jessica kind of has to ride her broom a few times, but as a district, we appreciate that. Maybe not every, but it is making a difference. Even those small things make a difference, and those numbers add up.
It's huge.
So anyway, I wanted just to say that to the public more than, I mean, you guys need to know too, but.
Okay. All right, I think that's it for reports.
Can I touch on a legislative update? I just would like to alert the trustees and the stakeholders that there's still some really important bills coming down the pike this year being talked about. And I just want to highlight one. There's legislation out there on student discipline. And we talk about the rubrics and the current handbooks that you're going to take into consideration later in the meeting. But prescribed a statute that pigeonholes the district into how discipline is to be handled again chips away at some of that local control and autonomy and all of those things. And it's a big one when you read some of the fine print in that bill about the removal of students from classes and the process of getting back into classes. Some of the things that are in that legislation, they could really be problematic for our administration, and again, just create some bureaucracy that just chips away at their abilities to be effective in their jobs. And I do worry about it, and I just wanted to put that out there for those who are paying attention to those things. That's one to take a look at.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I kind of felt that way with the cell phone policy that they passed. I mean, we already had the policy, or the rule. It wasn't a policy, but it had the rule of no cell phones in the building. But for them to pass legislation to require us to have it as a policy does definitely chip away at the local control.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you wonder, well, why do we have a school board if you guys are going to be making the rules and the decisions? So, and each district has different needs.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you for that. All right, visitor and public comment. Do we have anyone? No? Okay. You get 2 minutes and you have to fill out a piece of paper. Nope? Okay. We're going to move on to routine items. Approval of minutes. Can I get a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the following minutes: 6/18/26 regular board meeting minutes, 6/18/26 executive session minutes.
Second. Sorry.
And second, any
Just thinking of it.
discussion? None? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Minutes are passed. Approval of staffing recommendations.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve, let's see here, the staffing recommendations as presented.
I second that.
Any discussion?
I had a question. Underneath where it said the following are not subject to vote, is that just transfers if we had a transfer? Is that why that's there?
Yeah, so the transfers, change of status, and the extra duties,
Yeah.
that's just informational. We're
Okay.
not actually voting on those.
Got it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, staffing recommendations passed. Bills and financial statements.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the bills and acknowledgement of the financial reports as presented.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just want to say, just the business team was under a lot of pressure to get all this in on time because of the time that we scheduled this meeting. So thank you, everybody, for pushing to make that happen for the month, a short
Awesome.
month.
Yeah. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Moving on to old business, policy revision. These policies were brought to us last month. This is their second reading. Can I get a motion?
I move to approve on the second and final reading the following policies. The BHC-E1-CCB-E1, chain of command, or chain of communication, sorry. Policy JFABD, JLG-E, student residency form. Policy JLIB, student dismissal precautions. JP, the student gifts, and JQ, student fees, fines, and charges.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Policies passed. We are moving on to handbooks.
Let's see. We gotta get this going, right?
Yeah, before we
Madam
can
Chair,
start discussing,
I
we need a
move that we
motion.
approve the following handbooks. HSCSD number 1, 2026-2027 staff handbook. 2026-2027 student learning handbook. 2026-2027 activities handbook. 2026-2027, or TMS, excuse me. Should I have said HSCHS probably?
That's good.
Should I redo this?
You're good.
Okay, we're gonna say, we'll be more detailed here. TMS 2026-2027 student handbook, TMS 2026-2027 activities handbook, RWE 2026-27 student handbook, and 2026-2027 paraprofessional handbook.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
If I may, Madam Chair?
Yes.
I have a, I guess just something I noticed in the athletic handbook for the high school. It was under academics. I can't remember the section. I think it was 6. But they basically said you had to pass 5 solid subjects, and I was wondering if that is the same as core subjects. And if it is, maybe we want to, which is in section K, and we might want to make that language the same.
It's a good catch.
Because solid subjects wasn't defined.
Okay.
And I don't think I've ever heard anybody use the term solid subject.
We can align that language.
So while we're on that handbook, had a couple of things I was wondering about. So in the discipline grid, I'm trying to get to the page. It's on page 30. So it lists the infractions and the levels, but then down below, it lists the levels and infractions again. And I noticed in the high school handbook that what was listed in the grid was then crossed off. It's just redundant. It doesn't need to be listed twice, I don't believe. Was my thought there.
Okay.
And then the job descriptions that are put in there for the athletic director and the coaches and the assistant coaches feels like it should be more in a staff handbook than in a student handbook. I looked in all of the other handbooks and there was no duties listed for what teachers are supposed to do or what the paraprofessionals are supposed to do. That's listed in
Okay.
And then my other question was, the cheerleaders are singled out a lot in this activities handbook as if they were different from other activities, and I was curious as to why.
They're not a Wyoming activity approved.
But he has a section in there that talks about not Wyoming activity approved things, but then lists the cheerleaders specifically. Because there are other things that go under that category as well that are not listed.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
And then there was one other thing I was wondering about. What was it? Yeah, so like at the bottom, at the last, he has the addendum A and the non-Hot Springs County High School sponsored activities lettering criteria, and it lists rodeo and sporting clays, but cheerleading is not listed there. But then in 3 other spots, cheerleading is listed separate from other things.
It's got
Yeah.
its own section.
So consistency on that.
Yeah, but you can letter in rodeo and you can letter in sporting clays. So that's what he's saying in there, but then I don't understand why, like I said, they were listed separate in 3 different sections in the handbook. Just the cheerleaders specifically.
Okay.
And there was one other thing I noticed in this. I'm getting to it, sorry. Oh yeah, the Saturday, Friday school. Do we have a Saturday, Friday school?
Good Friday school.
Yeah, we have Friday school.
Do we have Saturday?
Okay. I didn't know we had school on Friday. But that's like a thing, okay? Okay. That was my other question. Yes, Nicole.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate that the activity schedule, or the activities handbook is separate from the district or the high school one. It makes it so much easier. And I like it at the middle school and the high school, how that's separated out now. Thank you for whoever did that.
Yes,
Madam
Bethany.
Chair, I wonder about the job description. Is that so parents know what is the coach's
Oh,
expectation? So parents and that student on the wrestling team, basketball team, whatever. I was just wondering if that is clarification, like what their job is, so that parents know. Parents get crazy. I don't know. That's just my thought out loud.
Yeah.
But then also, I was wondering if when this prints, there's some like things that are not lined up there, like they're not in line, like the word
Oh,
"they"
I
is
know.
way over in the left
I
column
saw that too, yeah.
on multiple pages. So I'm just wondering if when it prints, it will correct that. If not, super distracting.
I noticed
Okay.
that too, yeah.
so on with what she was saying, as a parent, I really appreciate that, just to know if I'm having an issue, who I can go to. Because at the school, I mean, your kids are there from kindergarten on, you know exactly who to go to. But at activities, especially kids who might be new to that, you don't necessarily know the responsibility of those coaches. So I kind of like the job descriptions in there.
Okay.
Madam Chair, trustees, we've logged all your questions. I'm not going to attempt to answer them until I consult with Brandon and get some information. Ms. Holman, Mr. Luby, do you guys have anything that you want to add? Go ahead.
To address the solid, I think it was you, Vice Chair, that asked about solid subjects, correct?
Yes.
That comes from WHSAA. They have that in their general rules of eligibility here. It talks about 5 solid subjects. Now, I agree with you, that doesn't necessarily give you some guidance as to what those subjects may be, and maybe it does. I haven't read through that enough, but we were looking up just to see if that's where he got that from, would be my guess, and it did come up on the general rules of eligibility here. So that's where the solid subjects come from.
Yeah, I think My big concern is just, it's not defined, so
Yeah.
even if we add it, you know, if we don't change the solid subject to make it core or whatever, have that defined somewhere.
That's a good point.
'Cause
Okay.
someone might decide.
Or
that,
defined in the handbook or whatever.
you know,
Leaves it open for debate for sure.
The other thing that I noticed is that there's some punctuation issues and some spelling issues, so especially under B, athletic injuries requiring medical attention. The word unsupervised has a couple W's in there, and there's just some of them have periods at the end and some of them don't, so maybe we just need to kind of go through it with a fine tooth comb.
On that note, it sure would be nice if we had hyperlinks in the table of contents.
Well, and that one doesn't even have a table.
It doesn't even have a table of contents.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
the hyperlinks to the table of contents that will match up with your page numbers is really useful.
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree.
Well, and it would help actually eliminate some of the redundancy, because they're, like it's talked about, needing a physical, it's talked about in 3 different spots there. So I don't know. And I know, I understand what's going on, because part of it is pulled from the athletic association, and then part of it is what our athletic directors added, but they're the same.
Okay.
Sometimes. Most of the time.
There was some of that same stuff going on with the TMS activities one too, so those
Yeah.
two just need to kind of be looked through a little harder.
And part of that's just a change, just
Yeah.
removing it out of the old one, and
Right.
Right.
It's not a.
Yeah, not a big deal.
And then on the high school handbook, I noticed on the table of contents that athletic handbook is still on the table of contents, even though it's still not, even though it's not there. So that's just a little thing, but.
And I did the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else? This is a lot to read through, so.
I read through them all last month and I didn't reread them. Sorry.
Okay. So we've got a motion and a second, and discussion.
So is this just first reading? Will we bring them all back for next
Mhm,
month?
mhm.
Okay.
I think we did do some checking. If it's the pleasure of the board, that maybe we could, on a first reading, get the rest of them approved.
Yeah.
And then we can do a second reading here in August on these activity ones, once we answer the questions and get a board update. So I am appealing to the pleasure of the board to have the others wrapped up tonight, and we'll do that second reading once we get these questions, answers, and adjustments made for the activity ones here in August.
Madam Chair, I move to amend the motion that all of them will be approved on the first reading, and the 2 activities handbooks will be sent back for some relooks and brought back to us next month for a second reading.
Second, the amended motion.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. All in favor of the original motion?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. The handbooks are passed. Okay, we're moving on to physical therapy services bid award. Can I get a motion, please?
Madam Chair, I move that we award the physical therapy services bid for the 2026-2027 school year to Wright Rehabilitation.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you for the patience on, especially your company waiting for us to get some more information on that. We really appreciate your patience with that, and sorry that that probably put you in a hard spot, but Thank you for all you do, and thank you for waiting for us to get more information as needed.
Anything else?
I'd like to, real quick, just on this topic as well, applaud the work that Cassie on this process too. There's a lot of moving parts, and Cassie, I know that in your department you have to be in compliance with so many things and how complex it is, and I just appreciate your research and work on this as well. So thank you.
No further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. The bid is awarded. Moving on to new business. Okay. We are into the presentation, public hearing, and adoption of the 2026-2027 budget. The board will hear a presentation from Business Manager Jessica Benefiel regarding the budget. There will be a public hearing allowing input and questions from community patrons in regard to the budget. Consideration of comments, administration of changes if necessary. The board will vote on the adoption of the budget pursuant to policy BEDH. Each speaker is limited to 2 to 5 minutes. Okay.
3516.
And we did have a little trouble with Vivi earlier today in a different room, so hopefully this one will hold up for us. But if not, this is attached to your board agenda in the public view as well. So let's pull that up. Don't worry, I'll lift that bigger. All right, there we go. All right, so this executive summary gives a little bit of an outline, but rather than reading that, you all have that at your disposal. I just wanted to do a quick reminder that the majority of Wyoming's K-12 funding is based on the WDE 100, which is also known as the funding model. And this model compiles dozens of formulas and relies heavily on each district's ADM. Or average daily membership. This is different than our enrollment count, so you may see differing values between those two numbers. Enrollment is the total quantity of students taking any classes in HSCSD number 1, while ADM takes into account how many actual courses a student is attending and assigning a partial or full ADM value to those course loads. When we talk about the foundation guarantee, we're referring to these model generated funds. This year, our foundation guarantee generated about $150,000 more than last year, which is a very small amount. However, that doesn't give the full picture due to changes made in Senate File 81, which is also known as the recalibration bill. So, this summer, the WDE School Foundation program presented recalibration changes at our school business officials meeting. And this slide was included in their presentation, and I thought it was a good visual representation of the shift that we're talking about. When we compare the foundation guarantee amount from FY26 to FY27, it's helpful to take a look at the shift in resources from model, aka the foundation guarantee, so everything over there on the left that's labeled model is generated in that WDE 100, and then the off-model funding streams. And then I've highlighted a few of the biggest changes that altered the contents of the foundation guarantee on the next slide for reference, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave this visual up while we go through those, just so that we can look at this while I describe those. I just wanted this visual to be as big as possible because those little words down there at the bottom are a little hard to read. So the recalibration considerations. The retirement, which is shown on the top in both the lavender and the green section on the off model. So 12.69% of the Wyoming retirement contribution was previously included in the model, and then we submitted a report for 2.25%, which was reimbursed off model, which was due to changes in those Wyoming retirement rates that were not reflected in the actual funding model. Now the full amount will be allocated via off-model reimbursement. So the purple and the green from the top have shifted into the green on the bottom. So that full 15.191%, which includes the increase to the Wyoming retirement contribution that took effect on July 1st, is now entirely off-model and will have to be fronted by the district. We will complete the report and then they will reimburse us the money on a monthly basis. Health insurance, another big difference. Previously, this is the yellow section, and it was allocated in the model per funded position. So they made an assumption that every position was eligible, that was eligible for insurance, could have insurance, did a formula where they averaged out the participation across the entire state and then allocated that into the funding model. They have changed that entirely. That will be an estimate for this year based on a 602 report, the staffing report that we filled out back in October. And then they will reimburse based on actual participation. And if that estimate that is in the yellow section is incorrect, if we spend less or we spend more, we'll receive more the next year, or we will owe that money back if we did not spend all of it on only health insurance. Special education, so payments of previous year's expenditures are staying the same. Special education is the peachy kind of section up there, and that will stay outside of the model as previous. And one thing that's going to change a little bit is we will get reimbursed for our out-of-district placements on a every other month basis, assuming we complete yet another report to request those expenditures. We'll report every other month, they will pay every other month. And that will probably decrease our special education reimbursement that I get back on my 401, but it will be coming throughout the year rather than one big chunk. So 2 smaller chunks equaling that same thing. This first year though, that is going to show up in our revenues as pretty high, since we will receive last year's out-of-district placements along with all the other special education reimbursements in addition to the current placements. And then the last thing that really had a big effect through recalibration was the ADM calculation. Previously, we received the greater of 2 numbers, either our current ADM or the 3-year rolling average, which provided a nice soft landing when we were having decreases in enrollment. Through the recalibration bill, though, they changed that. It is now the greater of this year or a 2-year rolling average. So we just went through this wordy slide, so I'll click through here. Again, another wordy slide just for background information, describing our funds, but we're going through all the specifics. What I wanted to get to is this historical ADM. So you can see that we have been on a decline, and so this year we're actually 2 ahead of last year, and therefore we will be at that 585. Previously, though, we were able to group 3 years together and get the average of that. So unfortunately, we're losing that 23-24 school year, which was up closer to the 620 mark, and really would have bumped our average up by 10 ADM. So unfortunately, we're going from 611 to 585 instead of 611 to 595. So that was kind of an unfortunate situation. All right, so now we'll get into the specifics of each one of these funds. So we'll start with the general fund, which is the vast majority of our funding. And I've split the data into revenues on the top and then expenditures in the bottom table. And you can see that our funding is continuing to shift more towards state resources as property tax revenue decreases. This year, there's a larger portion of off-model revenue in addition to the state sources we have received previously, and that demonstrates that was demonstrated in that first visual aid through that larger off-model chunk. This slide breaks it down by function code in expenditures, and just a reminder, instructional is any direct instruction, so teachers, paras, classroom supplies, any of those that support actual instruction. Instructional support is all of our other certified staff, the counselors, nurses, librarians, and all the associated supplies and wages and benefits with those departments. General support is central office, transportation, facilities, and then 6200s is pretty straightforward. Those are just our fund transfers out of the general fund which statutorily we can transfer up to 10% of our foundation guarantee to other funds on an annual basis. And that is reflective of our support for food service, which is not supported by any state funding. So then on the next slide, I added this one this year to break it down in a different way. These are the same numbers, but they are broken down by their object codes instead. So you can see where salaries, benefits, supplies, etc. The vast majority of our expenditures are incurred for salaries and benefits. And that pie chart up at the top is the exact same data, just in a visual representation. So your lighter purple and your medium purple are salaries and benefits, and then your other ones are significantly less of our budget. So most of our money goes into our people, which I think is pretty standard for a lot of industries. All right, next is our special revenue, which are grants. They are funds that are allocated by the federal government, and they have specific purposes. We have a different spending window for these that exceeds the standard fiscal year and includes different carryover stipulations per grant. I did want to take this opportunity to remind everybody that we hold a consolidated grant meeting every year. We feed you lunch, and everyone is welcome to participate and discuss where we want those monies to be spent in the future. We also posted a survey to social media, hopefully you saw it on Facebook, so that if you weren't able to make a lunch meeting in the middle of the day, you could still participate and fill out that survey so that we could see where the needs of our community are. Specifics on grants are shown on this one, and the FY27 budget is significantly larger than our actual expenditures because we can carry over multiple years of grant expenditures. So I did want to reflect the total amount we have available to us, but our actual expenditures are a little more consistent with the $940,000 you see down there in FY26. We've been on a solid decline in expenditures for the grant because we had all those ESSER funds. In FY25, the first half of that, we still had some ESSER funds remaining, so that is still reflected. Whereas that $940 to $1 million is probably more consistent with what our standard grant expenditures are going to be. However, one caveat to that is they are talking about a couple of categorical grants that were historically general fund, but the accounting manual guidance is shifting towards 20 fund code allocation. So we'll see how that shakes out. All right, early childhood BOCES is what supports our preschool program. So this is a mill levy, it's a half-mill levy, and again, tied to property taxes that will continue to decrease a little bit. And you can see that we do have more expenditures budgeted than we have incoming revenue, and that's due to an existing fund balance of about $130,000 that we have for a pad there. Previous to our early childhood BOCES, our preschool program was supported by the general fund, and so if we end up without enough money to cover salaries for both our teachers and our paras in that, we will shift that back into our general fund instructional. Next, we have our capital improvement funds. These are capital construction and depreciation reserves. So in capital construction, the legislature allocates projects to districts every year, and that is how this funding comes to fruition. We were allocated a re-roof project for the elementary school last year, and we were allocated another RWE project for the rooftop HVAC units. And so the decision was made by the state that it would be best to do those projects simultaneously. Therefore, they have started that. You've probably seen them over there. We've talked about it in the building committee, and that is where that FY27 budget comes from. We will request those funds from the state. They submit their invoices, I submit the invoices to the state pays us, we pay the vendor. So that's how that funding source will flow through there, which is why your revenue exactly matches your expenditures, because they give me what we expend, and that is the projected approved bid amount for this entire project. It is likely to be in 2 phases, so about half of that FY27, probably a third, we do pay for supplies up front, but that other third will probably fall into FY28, depending on how far they get into phase 2. Depreciation reserve is basically our savings account. That revenue shown is our interest earnings on the depreciation reserve fund. And then the expenditures out of there, you can see that is where we built our teacherage and we finished that up in the summer of '25, which is those expenditures in FY '26. These are restricted to capital improvements and equipment. So once the money is in the depreciation reserve, that is what those dollars can be allocated for. All right, next we'll go to major maintenance. Major maintenance is another funding source that is figured based on ADM. So our ADM does drive how much money we receive in major maintenance due to the allowable gross square footage of our buildings. So even though we have buildings that were built for 700 kids, we are funded for 585 kids. So it is a good idea to keep a little bit of a reserve, in this account, due to the fact that the buildings are not going to shrink if ADM shrinks. And so we do have about $2.2 million built up in major maintenance, hence the larger expenditure budget this year than anticipated revenues that will cover that. These are lofty goals. These are projects that we would like to get done, but obviously working in a school district where students are trying to learn does limit the amount of construction that you can do in a building during a school year. So a couple of things we have on the docket for this year. We will be finishing up the resurfacing of the high school track. We have some boiler reconfigurations at the middle school, HVAC on the vocational building, TMS as well, and then we have some sewer line questions at the vocational building that we would like to get investigated before they turn into a large problem. A couple of slides that need replaced at the elementary school, and then some door and camera licenses and replacements make up the majority of these expenditures. All right, food service is one of our enterprise funds. This operates more like a business where we charge for services and we receive the revenue, and we are not funded for anything for food service from the state. I do leave that state sources up there because we are hopeful that with the continued recalibration talks that there might be some funding allocated towards food service. They did have a meeting in Lander at the end of June that continued to discuss SROs, activities, technology, and food service was one of the main ones. Our federal sources are our reimbursements, our reimbursable meals that we submit claims for every single month. And then you can see that we are using a fair chunk of general fund monies to support this. And that's mostly just due to trying to pay staff a decent living wage while only receiving a reimbursement for a meal that barely covers the rising cost of food. So we are working on a couple of solutions to try to increase some efficiencies, decrease paper product usage, better utilize our commodities to hopefully continue to decrease our expenditures if possible. But we are going to try CEP one more year. We did it last year, and as you can see, had to subsidize a fair amount of money. The increase in federal sources, those reimbursements, did not make up for the decrease in local sources, which would have been the money that parents were paying for their students' meals. So we'll continue to try to find some efficiencies working with other districts. There are multiple that are on CEP, so we're going to try to utilize those resources and make some improvements there. And then Teacherage is another enterprise fund where money is raised and that money is used to support that. This one this one is self-sustaining, so you can see that we anticipate receiving about $60,000 in rent in this upcoming year. And our rent has stayed consistent the last couple years, but we will revisit that over this next fiscal year to ensure that we're keeping up with fair market value and ensuring that we're not lower or higher than what is applicable for our area. Expenditures are anticipated to be about $20,000, and we do pay property taxes on our teacherages. School districts are exempt from property taxes for their educational facilities, but not for something like a teacherage, which is not related to education. And then we do cover water, sewage, trash through the town of Thermopolis for our teacherages. The tenants cover their electric, gas, internet, satellite TV, any of those type of things. So when we say utilities, that is strictly water, sewage, trash through town of Thermopolis. And we anticipate a little bit of maintenance. Our supplies cost is still pretty low, only $5,000, because they are brand new. So our hope is that we'll be able to build up a little bit of a reserve here for when they start to age a little bit. All right, and then our daycare is another enterprise fund. So charges for services, and that is one that is not self-sustaining. This was started with ESSER funds, which were able to cover supplies and wages for our daycare in the first couple of years of operation, which allowed us to build up a good reserve to operate on as we've moved forward. So you can see that we are going to be in the hole about $100,000 on there. We currently have some cash reserves of about $134,000, if I'm remembering correctly, and we will be able to get through this next year. But we did hire a new director, and during those interview processes did discuss the fact that funding is limited for this daycare, and it could be a one-year deal. And she has a lot of experience in grants and optimizing efficiencies, and so with her help, we will look at all of those options, and if we can continue with that, that would be great. And if we run out of money, we run out of money, but wanted to make sure we provided a heads up to all our families that utilize that daycare, just in case, as infant spots are hard to find, and so if we needed to look elsewhere, we certainly could, but we are looking at different options to try to increase the profitability of our daycare. And then our last slide tonight is our proposed mill levy. I did keep historical data on here back to FY22, and the proposed increase is the CWC Bochis mill from a quarter mill to a half mill. And I didn't have room on this slide, but for the fiscal year 18 through 21, CWC Bochis was at half a mill. They've been really good to us about, hey, we don't need to build up a giant reserve for this. Let's decrease the mill for these couple of years, and then the last 2 years we've been all the way down to a quarter mill. But they did come in, as you remember from the board meeting where they presented, and did ask that the half mill be reinstated in order to continue their operations at the level that they currently provide. Are there any questions that I can answer for anybody?
Well done.
We will vote on approval of the budget as well as approval of these mills, which are listed out in your agenda item as well, so it's easy to read.
Madam Chair, Jessica, I just have a quick question from, and I don't know if I heard this right, but anyway, you mentioned the early childhood BOCES program, and that could move back into the general fund. Do you feel that funding for that is threatened in some way, or is that?
I do. That's dependent. Previously, we had this fund separated. When the monies would come in, we would reimburse ourselves for those wages and benefits out of the general fund. The reason that I feel like we're a little bit at risk is obviously our teachers all our certified staff are getting much deserved raise increases this year, so our costs are going to continue to increase in there where legislation has decreased the property tax burden for our constituents. So that mill levy is not generating the same amount that it used to, and so if it falls below there, we'll continue to pay what we can, and then we'll use the general fund to supplement that as well. Folks without their Hot Springs Early Childhood BOCES do use their general fund for their preschool, so this just helps us save a little bit of money in our general fund.
Right.
But yeah, that is purely based on, the only money that's coming into there is based on that mill levy. And so when those property taxes decrease, so does this funding stream. And the assessor does have a projected 9% decrease in the county valuation for this year, so that's where these numbers come from.
So it used to be funded through the Fremont County BOCES that we were a part of. And then we started the early childhood BOCES, and that's where the money goes.
And I believe that there was a larger, and I think Jessica, you mentioned this, but there was a larger portion that came out of the general fund for that until we started our own BOCES, and that became more efficient.
And there is a big bubble in FY25. The Hot Springs Early Childhood BOCES administrative costs were always budgeted higher than they ended up needing to be, and so last year they trued all those up, and that's what that big influx is the early childhood BOCES. As the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, our money flows into there, and then they disperse it out after administrative costs. And so budgeting those amounts for a number of years, and then realizing that they weren't as high as they had anticipated, they went ahead and dispersed all those funds last year. But moving forward, they're going to keep that more consistent on an annual basis.
Yeah, because there was no reason for the BOCES to have reserve. There's no need.
That's a very small portion of all, the big numbers that you've presented. I just wanted some more clarification on that, so thank you.
You betcha.
Okay.
I mentioned this in the finance committee meeting as well, Madam Chair, but I think it should be something that we all get in the back of our heads. At some point, I think with the teacherages, I do believe we should start putting some of the cost for depreciation into the depreciation reserve, to build that back up. We had the benefit of people having the foresight of building that depreciation reserve so that money was available, and then we spent a big chunk of it. And so I think it's our duty as a board to look forward and start building that reserve back up so that, 10 years down the road, they have money available to them when they need it. So I think that's something that we need to tuck in the back of our heads.
Just thank you for making this so understandable and clear. I really just always appreciate that about you. So,
You're welcome. Okay, can I get a motion to approve? We'll need two motions, so let's start with approving the budget. Are the mills one or the other?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the adoption of the 2026-2027 budget, including the following mills: 25 mil special district tax, 6 mil county school tax, 0.5 mil Northwest BOCES, 0.5 mil Hot Springs Early Childhood BOCES, 0.5 mil Central Wyoming College BOCES, 1 mil Hot Springs County Rec District. Total levy 33.5.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say on the CWC BOCES, when I support it, the increase, and the reason why is during the scholarship night when we were there, and I can't remember how many millions it was that went to these kids, the number of them that had taken the college level education courses to move forward, and there was a big return on the money to those parents that otherwise, some of them I know, there's no way their kids would have been able to go to college had they not had that opportunity. And that's a big benefit to our community. I think it also entices some of those kids, because I know some of those kids are going into healthcare and those sort of things, and some of them talked about eventually coming back here, and that's something we definitely need. So.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd just like to say I've had experience on this similar topic with the CWC College BOCES. They've been really good about, and kind of reiterating what Jessica mentioned, that when they've had reserve, if students haven't utilized the money there to gain college credits, that they come in and talk about their budget, and they'll request to reduce that mill, and then request for it to come back up when we need to come back up. And we're really coming back up to where traditionally it's been. But I just appreciate their transparency and all their strong effort for our students. And additionally, the resources in our community for others who may not have graduated with a traditional high school diploma to gain services for a GED and for additional education. I think that only benefits our community. So very supportive of it.
Well, and they're responding to the community's needs, and those were requests made, and they're responding, and it's good to partner with them. Anything else?
One
Yes,
of the
Tina?
things I wanted to point out is that we have seen with the budget this year, in our general fund, we're seeing the administrative costs, what do you call it? General support, decreased by over 1% and our instruction increasing by 1%. So I feel like we're moving in that direction, which is something that the people have wanted to see. So I think that's good that we're moving that way.
And just last thing, did you?
No.
Just express appreciation for all the work that's been put into bringing this all together. It's a big job. There's been a lot of moving parts, a lot of new legislation, and so thank you, Jessica, and your team members as well for getting this all together for the district.
Okay. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. The budget passes. Thank you, Jess. Okay, we're gonna
Oh,
move.
I need to say one more thing. Sorry.
No, I said we're moving on.
Hit the hammer.
Jessica has been so good for me because she has, she basically, and she gave, I think, everybody as much, I mean, she gave us the raw data to look at. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that transparency, because that's what it was full transparency. And I just appreciated it very much.
Thank you. All right, policy revision. Can I get a motion?
I'll move to approve on the first reading the following policies. Policy JRA-E1, policy KCD, policy KA, policy KDF-BEDH, and policy BEDH-KDF.
Second.
Any discussion? None? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So these policies were reviewed, but no changes recommended. Student records and non-custodial parents, parental rights complaint procedure, public communication, public right to know, news media relations, news releases, videotaping and filming of school activities. Any questions or comments? Okay. We're gonna move on to C, policy review. Oh, wait, no, sorry, we were just there. Move on to 2026, 2027, the bus stops. This is an annual item.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the bus stops within the no transportation zones for the 2026-2027 school year.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
What's changing? Is there changes? Is it the same? Okay.
Same.
I believe that in those no transportation zones, we have to approve those every year.
Okay.
Because there's a radius, and so if we put something in there, we need to approve it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Bus stops approved. Moving on to depositories for the 2027 fiscal year.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the following designated depositories for FY 2027: Central Bank and Trust, Pinnacle Bank, Bank of Thermopolis, Bighorn Federal Savings Bank, WyoStar Investments, and Wyoming Governmental Investment Fund, also referred to as WIGIF.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, now it is time for us to disclose. State statute requires members of the Board of Trustees, the superintendent, and the business manager to identify their affiliations, checking accounts, savings accounts, loans, both personal and business, with any of the depositories listed for the district. So I guess we can start with Jessica, move around the room.
I have checking and savings accounts at Pinnacle.
I have an account at Pinnacle as well, HSA account.
I have a checking and savings at Bighorn Federal, checking and savings at Pinnacle, and a loan at Pinnacle, and a checking at Bank of Vermont.
I have checking, savings, and a loan at Central Bank and Trust, and a loan at Pinnacle.
I have a checking and savings and a loan at Bighorn Federal and a checking and savings at Pinnacle.
I have a savings at Central Bank and Trust. I have a checking, a savings, and a loan at Bighorn Federal.
Madam Chair, I have 2 checking accounts and a savings account at Pinnacle Bank.
I have a checking account at Central Bank and Trust. I have savings at Pinnacle Bank. Savings at Bank of Thermopolis. Bighorn Federal, I have a checking and savings as well as a loan.
Okay. And then we'll have to bring this back for next month for Sherman to disclose. Okay, thank you. Bonds for superintendent and business manager.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the purchase of bonds for the superintendent and business manager in the amount of $50,000 each for FY27.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, attendance officers for 2026-2027 school year.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the following attendance officers for the 2026-27 school year. Ralph Witters Elementary, Nicole Sis, Thermopolis Middle School, Darren Luby, Hot Springs County High School, Marin Hillman.
I'll second that motion. Sorry, I'm reading it. Too
Any
much.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Designate the superintendent as the official representative for federal funds.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the Superintendent Foos as the official representative for federal funds for fiscal year 2027.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We're rocking through this. 2026-2027 extra duty salary schedule.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the revisions to the 2026-27 extra duty salary schedule.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion, any questions?
I have a quick question. So the District Guiding Coalition as the bigger entity is going to go away and turn into a leadership coalition. Am I understanding that correctly?
That is correct. It'll function more in the article that I did send to the trustees and the board update. It'll function more as a leadership team capacity, and the makeup of that team will be the guiding coalition leads from the building and so on. So functioning many in the same ways, but the who is going to be driven by the guiding coalitions at the building level.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So we have several part-time student requests. Before we get a motion, if there is any discussion, it would have to happen in executive session. Okay,
Madam Chair, I move to approve the part-time students requested presented to the board as listed.
I'll
I second.
okay.
Good job.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We put executive session on there just in case. Is there any reason for us to go into executive session?
I don't think so.
Okay, Yay. So then there will be no action items. So we're down to our last point.
That's crazy.
It's awesome. The board will end the meeting with a positive comment and discussion on our book. So, we want to just go around the table? Or does someone want to start?
We're gonna do the book first or do them at the same time?
You know, last month we kind of did them at the same time, so I don't know. Whatever your preference is.
I'll give my positive comment. I think sometimes, especially when we're talking about salaries of staff, we hear sometimes in the community, oh, they have all summer off. And, you know, teachers get all this time off. But actually, just for the public to know, our teachers return on August 4th, 3rd or 4th? 3rd. They go through curriculum days pretty intently that week. The following week, they start their regular, you know, teacher days of getting ready for the school year, and then school starts. That doesn't include the people who went to the PLC and took time away from their summer to do that, as well as all the additional curriculum work that teachers do in the summer. I can't tell you how often I'm talking to a teacher downtown and they've just been working on something from their classroom all week long. And I think there's kind of a misunderstanding of what staff does in the summer, and they do a lot more for our students than people realize, and I really appreciate that summer work because it shows in our data and it shows in our success of our students how intently our teachers work in the summer, and our athletic staff as well. They have those kids in there all summer long. So I really appreciate the work that goes on in the summer. It's not always seen by everyone, but I see it and I appreciate it.
So my shout out, so I did way too much work on the budget stuff and the numbers just because I thought it was kind of cool. So one of the things I thought I should shout out, there's a lot of our departments that are under budget, and I want to just give them a call out because it's cool that they're under budget, I think. So the elementary school came in under budget. SPED came under budget.
I mean, I do want to put the quick caveat out there that FY26 numbers are still preliminary, so.
So we're just going with these right now.
Keep
just so
spending,
you know.
How much do I have?
She doesn't know you very well.
Jessica is saying stop.
I'm just holding her accountable. That's all that. They are preliminary. I completely understand. Both the middle school and the high school student activities were under budget. Psych was under budget. The auditorium was under budget. The library was under budget. Supervision of SPED was under budget. Office of Principal Services was under budget. Building services and the grounds were all under budget. Like,
impressive.
significantly. So anyway, they were either under budget or they spent way less than last year. So anyway, those were the ones that I thought it takes everybody working together to make it work, and so I just wanted to give them a shout out.
Awesome.
Marshall, you ready for a shout out?
Yeah, so on the 5th, I came here for the play, the 1776, and I just want to say that it was really awesome coming up here because the amount of people that don't have kids here anymore, I know they're too old to have kids here anymore, are still coming to the high school to, you know, see stuff, and so it's a big part of the community, and the building was obviously, as always, in clean and in great shape, and I just want to say thank you. It was good.
Me? Geez, I haven't been around. I literally have not been in town. I guess my biggest involvement with the school lately has been my son getting up really early to go lift. So big shout out to those coaches who get up really early in the morning so those kids can go in and lift.
Beef.
So that they can then go and work for the rest of the day. Like,
Yeah.
they go in early because, you know, he has to go to work, and so he's able to go in and lift and come back and work. So
That's awesome.
I do appreciate them accommodating the schedules, so.
Yeah. When you're, let's see, fifth in line, there's already been a lot of great things said that I would just echo. But I think I really appreciate the positive attitude of the staff in our district, of not just leadership, but I rub shoulders with other people in the community that are in various capacities, from our custodians to our teachers to everything in between. And, you know, our district isn't perfect, but I do think that positive attitudes and forward thinking and, you know, looking ahead. You know, I talk to teachers that, yes, they do appreciate some blocks of time off, but they're constantly engaged. I mean, the teachers that I've talked to just at different basketball tournaments and things over the summer tell me, and I know they're not telling me this just because I'm on the board, but they say, yeah, you know, we've got some vacation time planned, but I'm pretty much present at, you know, I pop into my office pretty regularly, or I'm working from home on different things because it's important to them. They want to be ready to engage with all of the kids in this community that, you know, attend our public school. And that's why we perform the way that we do, and that's why we'll continue to drive for that higher performance. And then also just knowing that, you know, our kids are they're really cared for, they're really loved by these leaders. I especially, while I don't love driving all the way into town and back because my son isn't quite 16 yet for lifting and things like that, and my younger daughter, I'm excited that these kids have the opportunity to come in and lift and strength train, and especially as it gets hot, like there's too many excuses to be kind of lazy, at least at my house. So just appreciate all the work that's done, and we'll keep moving forward. So thank you, everybody, for all your hard work.
I'm pretty sure when I went to the restroom, you looked at my notes.
I
Jim
did
Johnson.
not. I did not.
I will not be leaving again with my notes out. I actually was going to do a shout out to Boone Bowker for weightlifting. 6:30 in the morning. I have a 15, well, he's 14, almost 15-year-old boy. He'll get up for weightlifting. I got to see Boone the other day when I was picking Soren up, and the kids are loving it. And we don't have a lot of extra things the kids can do in our community. And we know that because we're all parents. Everybody's parents. Just double checking. Or no parents. So having that weightlifting, getting those kids up in the summer is just awesome. And 6:30 is really early, and I have to drive to town as well. And it's worth it for sure.
I should probably carpool these kids.
I was just gonna say, you two need to coordinate.
Literally, we can totally do that. So I appreciate it. I appreciate the extra time he puts in and gets the kids motivated. I know Ellis loves Boone to this day, and Soren is loving it. So I appreciate the extra effort our teachers put in. And I know there's many more, not just Mr. Bowker. So I appreciate that. We have basketball coaches putting in time over summer to take kids to tournaments. We have practices going on that are out of their own personal time. So we're very, very lucky in our community to have those people do that for us. So, and every time I want to yell at a coach, I remind myself that they spend time in the summer with my child as well. And then I just had another comment. I would like us to revisit our board commitments. Because I know we've really worked on it really hard, but I think we need to look at it again, because I know, me personally, I don't know the school song. I would like everybody to make a commitment to learn the school song.
Oh, I can teach it to you.
I want you to memorize it, and perhaps
We'll sing it.
I was going right there.
Yeah.
At a school
Oh my
assembly,
word.
the board school song. Just throwing it out there.
Normal to wave.
Throwing it out there. Learn it, sing it, stage. Okay.
Bethany, you're doing a solo.
I will, but I don't know if you've heard me sing. It's not good. It's not good at all.
Madam Chair, I had one more, I forgot. I wanted to shout out Shannon Hill,
Done.
who made a summer
you for-
program
thank you.
for the kids. She's done it 2 years in a row, that I know of, and is just really engaging with all these kids doing amazing things all over the community, and that's so cool. So thank you for doing that.
And I have one more too.
Okay.
Welcome to Marin.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
happy to have
Welcome.
you.
Don't get used to 8 o'clock. Just be
Yeah, this is,
No, hold us
She's
accountable
bringing
to
it, yeah,
8
she's
o'clock.
bringing it.
Yeah.
It's a new realm.
new round.
Because it's summer, that's why, so
Yeah.
our agenda was light.
It's gonna be the new norm.
I have a positive.
Oh, yeah,
Jessica, you did a sensational job with the budget this year. And last time the state recalibrated was 2005. And so, now here we are, and you're beginning your 4th year. You have done an exceptional job, and it was not an easy year with the budget. And the unanswered questions and still some of the pending questions out there that districts are looking for answers on. It wasn't easy. It was a pressure cooker, and your presentation tonight was just sensational. So great job there. And just to add a little bit more, Jean, I do appreciate you pointing those things out, and Jessica, just on a daily basis, asking those hard questions and being that check and balance. And I give a little bit of a joke, and I've worked with some phenomenal business managers in my past, and Jess, you're phenomenal as well, because I give the joke, you're the perfect business manager. You question every expenditure. Do we need this? Is this what's going to forward, and does this impact our children the right way? And I know I tell you that, but I also know that weighs on your shoulders when we're all rolling in there, superintendent included, and I wasn't recognized for being under budget. and we all roll in there and say, hey, I've got a bright idea. And you get the look from Jess. And it's pressure, and it wears on you. And I just want to tell you thanks for shouldering that, and phenomenal job.
Our color copy's under budget.
oh yeah, that's the important one.
I want to show you something.
But
right
there
here.
have been
Look at these
improvements
right here.
made.
This
since
line
I-
right here.
yeah, Since I have brought it to the attention of the.
Those are 5 years.
Everybody's looking at the elementary school.
She knows. Okay, book study. So we were supposed to read section 1, problem blindness, a lack of ownership, and tunneling. Anyone want to start? I could start. Problem blindness is just realizing there's a problem. Sometimes there are things that happen. The example in the book he used, like football players getting injuries, and it was just like, yeah, well, it's a tough sport, so you're gonna get injured. And they did keep getting injured until someone was like, maybe they're training wrong, and started changing some things, and now injuries are less. So identifying that there's a problem is a good first step. And all 3 of these chapters kind of go hand in hand with each other. The lack of ownership. If you're fighting with someone, lack of ownership. If you're fighting with someone, maybe it's you and not them. And actually being self-reflective and being able to take ownership in your part of the problem. And that's a tough thing, because we can't always see ourselves the way others see us, or how we are really responding. Had a discussion with my son the other day, and he's like, why are you so mad? I'm like, I'm not mad. But that's how he saw my response to our discussion. And so I had to calm down a little bit, because I really wasn't mad. I just got passionate about it.
Rage baited.
He totally was baiting me, yes. Tunneling, I think that's something we've all been guilty of. Like, you just don't even have time to deal with the problem, so you just keep pushing forward. So you put all three of these things together, identifying the problem, owning the problem, and dealing with it even though you feel like you don't have the time or the energy to deal with it. It's a great start to becoming better. And I enjoyed this section very much.
I'll jump in on that as well. I thought these chapters were excellent and they do tie together well. I just want to read one quote that I think just stands out so strongly. It's in the lack of ownership chapter on page 41. And it says, "What's odd about upstream work is that despite the enormous stakes, it's often optional." So meaning some of the biggest problems maybe that we have in society, or maybe some of the biggest problems or challenges that we will find in our own school district are still optional. We don't have to jump in and tackle these things because they're not in your face pressing at the moment. It says, "With downstream activity, the rescues and responses and reactions, the work is demanded of us." So in other words, we're waiting and we're being reactive as opposed to proactive. A doctor can't opt out of a heart surgery. A daycare worker can't opt out of a diaper change. By contrast, upstream work is chosen, not demanded. I'm not sure I don't know if the diaper change is quite the right thing, because that's inevitable. I'm a dad of 5 kids, so.
But you do eventually potty train them.
Yeah, but you do eventually potty train them, that's right. But I love that sometimes our biggest challenges are challenges that we really have to be proactive and forward-thinking and observant and open to new ideas and new concepts and new strategies, and not just look at it and say, well, it's just the way it's always been, so that's the way it's always going to be. And so anyway, that's what I loved most about these.
One of the things on page 38, they say that the seed of improvement is dissatisfaction, and people can voluntarily hold themselves responsible for fixing a problem that they did not even create. And I think as we look towards what are the upstream problems that we need to be thinking of as a district, and it'll take all of us to think about what those are, and how important it is that even if we didn't create the problem, we have the ability potentially to fix them, or at least acknowledge them and start to brainstorm on potential fixing. And when we go from feeling like the victim of the problem to feeling like a co-owner of the solution, that can be so empowering for people. Anyway, I think even if we don't make the problem, it's worth fixing. It's important to remember in a body like this.
Madam Chair, so one of the things I was really relating to is our upcoming elections. It's a school board election year, and it usually comes with a lot of frustration and a lot of misunderstanding with the community. And so as I was reading this, I was like, okay, what can we do where that's not a frustrating thing? But we've talked about it every year that we should host a night for question and answers, where candidates could, even before they've even written their names down, where they can come in and say what jobs are the school board in charge of, and what do you have control of and do you not have control of. And I just wonder if that would help eliminate some of the misunderstandings that happen during elections. And I really liked it, and this was the point where that hit me. She was talking about how she was sitting somewhere, and every time she was trying to see, the person in front of her would move that way, and then she'd move this way, and the person would move this way, and she was very frustrated until she said, wait, I can just move my chair. And she moved her chair, and then she could see fine. And I just thought about that maybe one of our first ways to tackle what this book is talking about is being ahead of some of the confusion that goes on with elections, and as a school board, hosting some evenings for questions and answers and things. So.
Anyone else?
I guess I'll put the cabinet team on notice a little bit that I really want to try the strategy, and I've had a lot of training on conflict resolution over the years, and the strategy and I'm joking a little bit, but two people come in and they're in conflict, and you say, you need to talk about this problem as if you were the 100% owner of the problem. And that's hard. And I think of frustrations that I have and that we all have, and to really have that mindset sometimes where you frame that and zoom out and be like, okay, take the mindset that you are 100% responsible for this problem, and start looking at all the areas where you hold accountability in that problem. Stop worrying about what that person did or how, you were a victim to their inappropriate behavior or those things, and start really reflecting your contribution to that. And that was an interesting take to conflict resolution and some of those things as I read through some of these sections. But it really is a extremely challenging book, and it's going to continue to be challenging, and I really appreciate the trustees seriously looking at it and going through it, because I think it's generating some excellent conversation and reflection.
It's a great book.
Okay, so for next month, we're reading the first half of section 2. So section 2 has, so we'll do 5, 6, 7, and 8. Yes?
Yes.
9, yeah, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then that leaves us 9, 10, 11, 12. So, read the 152. Okay. Is there anything else?
Darren Libby was hoping that we would extend this meeting about 18 more minutes.
Oh, are you trying to miss tuck-in time?
You could teach Bethany the fight song.
Every Monday morning.
Yeah.
All right, seeing nothing else, this meeting's adjourned.
Jessica Slagle sang the school song.
Oh, yeah.
Still remembers it.
We talked about